I'm NickiiJean. Thanks for tuning back in. I am sitting with Mr. James from Sacramento.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, we are so happy to have you. I'm excited to sit down. I've done some research. I've seen your work. It's absolutely amazing. And I just want to get all in your business because you are a musician and you do videography, and that's just like a wide spectrum. Like, I need to understand all the things. So talk to me. You're from Sacramento, right? Yeah. But you're here in LA.
Right.
When did LA become like the next move?
Oh man. Okay. So for starters, I studied film in college.
Okay.
I went to Sac State, and I guess as a film student, you're always like kind of compelled to want to move to SoCal just because it's, where the industry's at. But after I graduated from film school, I put that on the back burner to pursue music. And so me moving to LA, that didn't happen for a while, but, fast forwarding a little bit, in 2016, I found myself doing YouTube, and a buddy of mine who I met through YouTube was like, dude, I'm moving to LA. I need a roommate. Let's make YouTube videos.
Literally, you guys never met each other.
Not in person.
In person. You became friends because you had a profile where you made YouTube videos about...
So I was doing vlogs. I was doing music. I was doing... I was just dabbling in a lot of different stuff. And... we knew each other. We knew what we looked like, right?
Right,
so it was
but you just didn't, you've never met in person.
Exactly.
An online friendship.
Exactly.
Gotta love social media, technology, love it.
There's like this like meme, URL to IRL, where it's like, these days, like people, you meet online and like you make these connections that become very, genuine in real life, and they translate to real life.
Right.
And so he's like, bro, move down here. And I'm like,
wait, so he was already here?
He was in I believe Santa Monica, and he was moving to OC.
Okay.
And for me, it was taking kind of like a leap of faith. Obviously, you're city I never lived in, and I was comfortable doing YouTube stuff up in Sacramento, and but I knew I kind of had to like leave the nest and branch out. Get uncomfortable again so I could grow.
Yeah.
So, I touched down here in OC, and, I'll just say like off the bat, like the start to life wasn't the easiest. Like when I got here and reality kicked in,
the coins.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
I
think it's
absolutely. And that, that was
So was the price like difference from like how big of a difference do you think?
So I will say, like in Sacramento, I did have the luxury of pursuing music and living with my parents. I will say like, they really supported me. And so when it came to moving down here, I think just being very transparent, I think I moved down here with like, like $7,000 saved up from YouTube or whatever, which isn't a lot, relatively speaking. That in my car, and I'm like, I'm going to make YouTube work. Like, that's a dream. Obviously, that wasn't the case. Like, reality kicks in, and then I blew through my savings just paying rent. And the thing is, YouTube, I did have a song that I released that helped pay rent for a while.
Okay.
But it quickly became apparent that YouTube was going to be unsustainable. At the level that I was growing, during that time, there was like demonetization that happened. And I was like, oh shoot, like, what do I do now? So that's when I started a hard pivot into videography.
Okay, because that's kind of where I want to go back to your music. What type of music would you consider, what genre are we talking about?
As J-Kraken? Yeah. So
I didn't, J-Kraken, first of all, let's talk about who's J, because he was introduced as James. And so who's J-Kraken?
So J-Kraken is a stage name that I started going by in 2013. 2013 was like the big year for a lot of, I guess, creative aspects in my life. Like, I think we've talked like since the beginning, like music and video are the two creative pillars that have remained a constant throughout my life.
Okay.
And so I mentioned in school, I studied film. But at the same time, I was also taking a deep dive and immersing myself in EDM, electronic dance music, and electronic music production in general. And I just remember when I wasn't in class doing film stuff, like during passing periods or whatever, at the Sac State Union. I went to Sac State.
Okay.
I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yes, you did. Sac State. I didn't go to Sac State, but
no, it's all good.
We represent, right?
Shout out to the
Shout
Hornets.
out to Sac State.
I don't think I've ever said shout out to the Hornets.
The Hornets.
Yeah,
yes. He's like, I never did it before. You're doing it today on Mesh Talk.
Just because we're on, Mesh on the podcast.
Yes.
You know, when I wasn't in class, I was consuming every single music production tutorial I can get my hands on. I was working on beats, remixes, originals, and then when I did have a song, I was like sending out like 50 templatized emails to different bloggers, anyone who would listen to my music, to get my music charting on Hype Machine. So, well, anyways, I digress. Going back to your question about the style. Yeah. As J-Kraken, I kind of bounced between different genres, and the beginning genre was electronic music. If you want to go like deeper, it was like very melodic, almost dubsteppy house kind of stuff. But I think in 2014, that's when the tropical house wave started to, I guess, invade like the EDM bubble. Okay. I said invade. That's like not a good, it's not a good connotation. Introduce. Yeah. It started to kind of like, you know, become a sound that was synonymous with electronic music. So guys like Kygo, Duke Dumont, Thomas Jack. These are artists that I looked up to during that phase. And I think I started to adopt like tropical house music into my style. Because for me, tropical house is very inherently melodic. There's a lot, you know, steel drums. It's very happy sounding. And I really resonated with that style. So,
and it feels good.
It feels good. You feel like you're on a beach, you know, until it started being used in like every single travel video and blogging. You're like, oh man, it's kind of played out. It's funny. So that, you know, it's a happy style of music. And then a year after though, you know, I was going through relationship issues. I went through a bad breakup, and then the music very much went into more like sadder territory, I guess. There's a genre that was popular at the time called future bass. Artists like, I guess you can say like Marshmello. It's not like four on the floor like house music is. It's more inspired by like hip hop and trap. And so I was incorporating those kinds of beats underneath like my chord progressions, etc. And so that kind of became like the style I was working with. And J-Kraken kind of melded those two things. Okay,
but who like named, like that's
that name?
Like where did, like the day, like I was sitting here and I'm gonna name myself J-Kraken. I want to know like that moment.
It's
like,
so cheesy, but
so we love cheesy.
Yeah, so in 2013 is literally like, at that point in time, my musical cornerstones were like guys like Skrillex, Zed, Seven Lions. And I was like, I need to come up with like an edgy DJ name. Yeah. So my friend's brother, I was like, I came up with a list of things, and I have an affinity for like the ocean and like the sea. I have like some of my tattoos are like sea creatures and stuff. So the Kraken was one of them. Obviously J for my name, James. So I was like listing these things off, and he was like, dude, that sounds cool. And I don't know if he was just trying to gas me up.
Well, I mean, it stuck, right?
Yeah, it stuck, and it ended up becoming the name that I'd associate myself with like these last 10 years. Cause I mean, it's 2023 now. This all happened in 2013. So, I mean, that's kind of been the name that I've gone by. Music-wise. For music.
So James is our videographer.
Yes.
And J-Kraken is our musician.
Is the musician, correct.
I want to go a little back.
Sure.
I want to know like about your family and stuff. Like, where does anyone in your family do music or videography?
Yeah. I'd say like in my immediate family, you know, I'm kind of like the one person that kind of ventured, I think, into this territory. You know, my brothers are super.
So how many
smart.
brothers?
I have three brothers, three younger brothers. I'm the oldest of four boys. And they're all super smart, and they do computer stuff.
They learn from their brother, man.
No, I'm the, you know, the funny thing is though, I'm like kind of like the creative one. And but they're all, I think my youngest brother, he's also very creative. You know, he's doing his thing, and I think he's in college right now. But, you know, my parents are, I should say my mom, very traditional Filipino family. So she wanted me to pursue something that wasn't very creative.
Right.
But my dad, on the other hand, was always a huge proponent of me just, you know, I feel very blessed to have had parents who were supportive. My mom eventually came around. She, you know, one of the things is like when I was able to monetize music in YouTube and show her like this translates to real life.
Exactly.
That's when
that's what we want to know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, not we, but as parents, I'm assuming, right?
Right.
Can you take care of yourself? Where is this going? Are you wasting your time when you can be doing something else that turns into money?
Into money. Exactly. And, you know, parents are just trying to, they want the best for you.
Of course,
so,
of course.
I think their whole thing was like, as long as you have something to fall back on, you know, but once things started to kind of work out, I guess financially with music, and then, you know, later down the road with video, they kind of got in. They're like, okay, we'll let him do his thing. We'll let him be creative. Yeah,
because I wanted to know, like, okay, what was that conversation like? Mom, Dad, this is the career path. Was that a conversation? Did it just like, okay?
Yeah.
When was it a conversation?
I'd say, so going back to like the college days when,
back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. I definitely had a conversation because there was one point where I wasn't a film major. I was an accounting major, and I was a computer science major.
Wow.
Yeah, and that, you know, looking back, I'm like, whew, you know, I kind of cringe. I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't resign myself. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If that's what your thread of excitement, then by all means. Just for me, I've always been creative, you know, ever since I was a kid. And, you know, I sat down in 2013. I was like, hey, I feel like I'm kind of just, you know, with my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And I said, I know you want me to pursue something that will give me, you know, a good future.
Right.
But, you know, like I feel like I'm coasting through life. These classes or whatever are going over my head. And I feel like I'm resigning myself to a future that I don't resonate with, you know? And that's when my dad was kind of like, you know, we never wanted to force you to do that. So like, if you want to do film, they preferred film over music.
Okay.
So I was like,
they were like, we want James instead of J-Kraken.
Yeah. So
wait, has J-Kraken performed for the parents before?
I think they've seen YouTube video. I did do like a festival. I did shows. Honestly, I don't think they really came out because it wasn't their. My parents are very traditional, so going out to bars and clubs, that wasn't really their vibe. But I showed them videos, and they're like, "Oh, that's so cool!" Yeah. My dad unfortunately passed away in 2017. The month after I moved down here, and so he was never really able to see me quite perform as J-Kraken. But you know, like you're saying, I guess. James is the videographer, J-Kraken as the musician. I think as of recent years, for me, and I know I'm kind of like, you know, just like changing the topic.
No, it's all good. We're chatting, okay? And we just, you know,
we're vibing.
Hey guys,
hey, what's up? What's good?
Yeah.
I do want to say that I know that those are kind of like the two identities I've kind of rocked with, and you know, as of recent years, I think there has been more so of a shift from J-Kraken to just James, you know, when I introduce myself. It's interesting because, you know, J-Kraken has been my creative identity in music and in YouTube.
Right.
And a lot, like the friends that I had here when I first moved, they still call me Jay from J-Kraken.
Right. I mean, because that's your name with your friends, right? So.
Yeah. In Sacramento, people would call me Kraken because that's when I was DJing.
I mean, what can I call you? What am I calling you?
Just call me James.
James? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, didn't I just tell you?
Yeah. No. You're good. You're good.
James. Okay.
But as of like the last couple of years, it's like I do introduce myself as James now, like not as J-Kraken. And
you're maturing. You're growing.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm
oh my gosh.
Wow. It is interesting though, just because it was so tied to I feel like my creative identity. But with that said, one of the things or one of the challenges that I kind of find today is, you know, having done so much videography and immersing myself in videography these last years, I do feel the music bug biting. And part of me does like miss doing music more often, because I'll dabble here and there when I have the time, but I think when life has gotten so busy, we have to, there was a point in time where I was really struggling financially when I touched down here. And you have to pay the bills. Videography definitely did that for me. But there was always like this love for music and wanting to do it. And I think for me, it's just been a challenge of finding balance, finding a way to finesse music back into my life.
Literally, I have it written here. How do you find the balance between music and video? I really want to know where video came into and when was the last time you did music. But since we talked about balance, how do you find the balance? And I'm not asking this to say that there should be a reason, or there should be balance, but there are people that are creative and they wear several different hats, and it's okay. And they're equally as talented in that. And it sounds like you're equally talented. So how do you find the balance?
Thank you. I'd say, and this is like low-key negative there was low-key negative self-talk at one point where I'm like, I feel like I'm a creative jack of all trades and not a proper Renaissance man and doing creative stuff. And I think these days more it is just about being kinder to yourself and
say that again.
Be kinder to yourself. Like if you're not making music it's chill, especially during the pandemic. I think I was beating myself up and like, I need to be writing music every day using this time. Who? Right? Exactly. Yeah. There's no need to like push yourself. Like we have this like inner bully that says if we're not constantly grinding on music or releasing something, especially with like how being a creator in this landscape of TikTok, YouTube, Reels, etc., where you feel like you have to continuously feed the beast
every day, feeding the beast,
it's
making
tough.
the algorithm, like
the algorithm. Oh wow!
What is that? Yep. Was that something when you first started? What social media platforms were you on when you first started doing music?
SoundCloud, and I'd say SoundCloud, Instagram, and YouTube. Those were like the
and they're still like the high, right? Like
they are to this day. I'd say so, but obviously, it goes without saying, TikTok has radically changed how musicians are able to release their music or advertise their music. And I know I've seen TikToks for a lot of, Ed Sheeran or Halsey, big musicians like that who are kind of over the fact that you have to create content around releasing music. So that's a whole
But it's all about marketing, and there was whatever, form of communicating to your community and to your fans. That still played a role. It's just a different type of communication.
It is. And on the other hand, there are people who, TikTok has been a huge blessing. They've released music that's reached millions of people. And because of that, they now have a platform and a career to do music. So I think for me, earlier on, Instagram, SoundCloud, and then YouTube were my platforms. But yeah, as far as finding balance between the two, I think because I'm so immersed in videography, and that is my day-to-day, and I'm not complaining. I feel super grateful to be able to do what I do, and I love it. I think it's just about being deliberate, about carving out even an hour a day. And I know this is cliche. I'm ripping this quote straight out of this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. But it's something that's resonated with me and kind of changed the way I approach creative life. But the quote is, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. And what I take away from that is, we can have all these goals about doing music. I can tell myself, I want to reincorporate music back into my life. But if I don't have the proper system to do that, it's never going to happen. So for me, even if it is just waking up super early in the morning. I was going to
ask, well, what's that system? Tell us about that.
Yeah.
What is a system?
I make it sound complicated. I'm like, have a system.
No, but it's real. It's real. I agree with you 100%.
For me, my personal system, and I've tried to really stick with it this year, is literally 2 hours before the day starts. So,
before my day starts.
Okay. Absolutely. Before work emails, work calls, all the stresses of the day have a chance to really hit you.
Yeah.
Just, wake up in the morning at 5. It's that whole entrepreneur lifestyle.
Yes.
Wake up at 5.
4 a.m.
Yeah, 4 a.m.
Okay, but you're giving me this 5, so I have time. I have an extra hour.
Yeah, you have an extra hour to sleep.
5 a.m.
Get in the gym, or do some sort of physical workout that'll wake you up. And for me, that really sets the tone of the day because I knocked out the workout. I'm fired up, and then do an hour of music, whether that's studying jazz piano, messing around in a DAW, writing chord progressions,
just anything
that relates to music. And I also do try and be deliberate about what I'm doing. So I'm writing a song, say, hey, for this session, I will just work strictly on chord progressions, or I will write the melody, or I will mix, whatever the case is. But knowing that 1 hour multiplied over the course of a year. So every day that something is going to get done.
Building on a skill. It's you're building. Gym and you're working out.
Exactly.
Your muscle is getting stronger.
Creativity is also a muscle too. You're flexing your creative muscle.
100%.
So I think it is just about having that, in my case, it is really simple. Just like 2 hours every morning.
It's not. It's simple, but it's actually not.
It's tougher to stick with it. To tell yourself you'll stick with it is one thing. And I'm not gonna pretend that I'm an or the best at sticking to my own schedule. I'll have days where I miss something and I'll feel guilty about it. But I think at the end of the day, having a system in place and knowing that even if you're doing it for an hour, an hour every day, not even an hour, even if you're doing 10 minutes or 20 minutes a day, as long as you're slowly building towards your goal, that's more important than trying to find the perfect time to do anything, especially when it comes to creative work. You can sit there and be like, oh, I don't feel inspired. I have to wait for the perfect time to feel inspired.
And what does that mean?
Exactly. There's never going to be the perfect time to, if you're just continuously waiting for the perfect time to feel inspired. Yeah. It might never come, but if you're constantly doing something every day, even though you don't feel like the greatest.
On it. I love that. I agree with you 100%. It's easier said than done, as I said, but you're giving it to us because from experience that it works. So
exactly. And I will say, I wish I had done that more when I was pursuing music. Seriously, if you will, pursuing it, just making sure I did something every day rather than waiting for the perfect time, and then just having a good system in place. Whether you get up in the morning and do it an hour. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's great, and it builds character, right? And it's it's not about everyone else. You're literally, not battling or fighting you're proving to yourself that, no, this is how important it is to me. And, mind over matter. I can do this. I can do this.
Exactly. Yeah. You're proving to yourself. Yeah. And I'm such a nerd about this book, Atomic Habits. What it does is it helps vouch for that identity. If you're telling yourself you're a musician, but you're not, you start to, at least for me, I know I develop imposter syndrome. I don't know if you feel it, where it's like.
For those who don't know what
if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's pretty much where you're, for instance, you're a musician, right? And in my case, I'm a musician, but I haven't done music in a minute, where I'm so focused on videography. So when I listen to my music, I'll be like, did I really make this? You get this negative self-talk in your head where you're kind of just like, I know I'm not doing the best job at explaining imposter syndrome. No,
you're doing great. You're doing great.
But it's kind of just that, where you think you're not as good as you are, or
it's like self-doubt.
Yeah.
Beating yourself up.
Exactly. And sometimes with videography, I have to remind myself hey, I put in the hours, I'm where I'm at right now because I've grinded. But, at the times there's times where I'll do shoot and I'm like, man, I feel lucky to be here. I pinch myself and that kind of thing. So, with music, at least for me, that's a big thing, feeling imposter syndrome when I haven't done music in a while. But I think one way to combat that is like what you said. Just proving to yourself day in, day out, get in there, do the work, even if it's 20 minutes, 30, whatever the case is, just prove to yourself in reinforce your identity.
Reinforce your identity. I love that.
As a musician or whatever.
I think that's amazing. Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of like my next question is, as you going into music and videography, what are next steps? I am very happy that you shared your story. And I feel like sometimes people think that when they have two different roles and two different talents that they can't do it. And you're a prime example of you can. And you, in your mind, you may not feel like you found the best balance, but like you're great. We've done research, first of all. We've, there's a reason why I wanted to have a conversation with you.
Right.
You are like both you're really good in both, like, if I were to give a 10, like you're there in both areas, but you're still able to do it because you found the balance. You make the time, right? You've created a routine for yourself and you've proven to yourself that I can do both, because society will tell you you can't, or any, society, family, friends will say, why would you think that you can be a musician and, a videographer? That's two different.
Right.
But you can, because you are, and you're great. So,
you're too kind.
No, but I think that you're not. There are so many people like you that have talents from two different spectrums.
Yeah.
And they're so good at it. And sometimes you feel like, oh my gosh, I need to pick one.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that now? How do you feel about it?
I think these days I'm much more comfortable being able to do both, and granted, I do feel like I do lean more towards the videography side of things, working production, but I think it's just the mindset shift that you can achieve these things, even though it's sequentially, you kind of gain that success in one area and then you move on to the next.
Yeah.
Even if you're not doing it both at the same time, it doesn't mean that you forever have to shut off one side of things, especially if you're passionate about it. And I know I talked with John Montez.
Hey, John.
What's
we love
up?
You.
Hey, shout out to John.
Shout out to John.
We were talking and, if there's anything that I've mentioned, that like music is my first love. I know I've talked about that with him. And so it's the same case with him.
Right.
And when that's the case, when you still have that love and the music bug still keeps biting, even though you're doing these other things, you're always going to gravitate back towards it. And I think I know, even if I haven't found the perfect balance, again, it's just being deliberate about making time and carving out time for, what you love to do. And I know it's really cliche, but for a reason, And so, moving forward for me, as far as like what I want to accomplish, it very much is still a work in progress and finding a good balance. I still, again, I see all this stuff about wanting to do more music, but I still love what I do with video, and I want to continue growing. And
I'm sure you incorporate both of them together.
Exactly. I should just do music videos. It's funny because I haven't done a whole lot of music videos, but.
All right, Mesh. We have something. Are we producing? Are we producing? We're gonna produce.
Let's drop a beat. I'll shoot the music video. I'll produce the beat. John will record vocals.
Why not? You never know. You might just have opened another door that you didn't know.
Hey, I'm down. I'm down. I'm such a production nerd, music production nerd, but I'm a video nerd as well. So I'm down for both. But I'd love to continue growing in the video industry. Open up my own production company.
Okay.
But once I'm able to kind of take a step back, like that becomes like almost a thing of its own, then step back and start recording. And like, I always tell myself I released an EP back in 2014, 15. And I always wanted to follow up and release another body of work. So once, I do find that balance, and even if not, I still want to continue working towards it. I'd love to put out a body of work. And then I think those are two things that, I'm working towards that make me feel fulfilled creatively. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. I love that.
I just rambled so much.
No. You didn't.
Sorry.
What I love is this whole time you've mentioned the term cliche.
Oh, yeah.
So I am going to ask you the most cliche question because I'm just curious, if your thoughts.
Sure.
In the next 5 years, and you kind of briefly discuss where you want to go, but and maybe this is not something you've thought about, but like in the next 5 years, like where do you're quite young. We're not going to give his age, but you know, like where do you see yourself, you know, in the next 5 years?
That I actually like, I was contemplating that at the beginning of this year, you know, what's the 5-year plan?
Yeah.
For me, I think on the video side of things, I do want to have my own production company established at that point and running and being able to give some of my friends work when I can.
Awesome.
That'd be so awesome to do that. And then on the music side of things, I want to play Coachella. I want to play the Doolab.
Wow. Okay. Okay. And and it's doable. It's doable.
The thing is, I've seen like the trajectory that some artists have taken. I know that's actually a long shot just because I haven't done music in a minute, but you know, we're just spitballing. It's like,
but you never know. You never know. So, okay, what are next steps to make that 5-year plan happen?
That 5-year plan? For me, again, it really is, especially on the music side of things. Like, I know that won't happen unless I am deliberate about
the consistency.
The consistency.
Love,
exactly.
Love.
For the video production side of things, I think that's something that's a little bit more like that goal is a lot more tangible, actually. Something that I'm making moves of as of right now, and I want to make that a reality maybe within the next couple of years, maybe even this year. And so that's something that, you know, I think the pieces are in place. I just have to, you know, dig deep and figure out from a business perspective, like where I want to go with it.
Right.
And kind of like what the whole, I guess what niche it's going to fall in. But I think that side of things, I'm a lot more confident in than the music side of things. But
and things change. You never know. So much can happen in 5 years. We're out of time, but I wanted to like talk just briefly, just give us some time.
Yeah.
The Mesh connection.
Yeah.
I didn't get to, I totally forgot. Duh.
Yeah.
James is a part of Mesh. Like, okay,
I
so
know, right?
How's your introduction to Mesh? Like, how did that happen? What do you do here with Mesh?
So my role at Mesh, I'm primarily a videographer and I help create
But he's going to do some music now.
Yeah, we're doing music. We're doing both.
For sure.
So my history with Mesh goes back to the pandemic, 2020, where I met John on a shoot. John Montez, shout out to John.
Hey, John.
We met on a shoot and, you know, we were filming a piece, an artist piece with Tori Evans, who was such a joy to work with.
Amazing, beautiful.
She's incredible.
Yeah.
Such amazing energy.
Yeah.
And that whole shoot, like working with her, working with John, I think we all just vibed.
Right.
The energy was
meshed.
We you had to do it to him. Had to drop the mesh. No, it was such a good energy, and I remember talking to John. We stayed in contact after the shoot, and he's like, "Hey, you know, I'd love to get you on a podcast. I'd love to talk. You know, have you talk." And I think the last time on our text thread, it was like, dude, it'd be a privilege to hop on here. Yeah, this was in 2020.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and for us to be here now talking and have it come full circle, I'm super grateful. And, you know, being able to create that piece with John and
it was amazing. It looks amazing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And for us to be working together and creating more video work again, like I'm super grateful. And I think the fact that Mesh is able to bring creatives together just like that and mesh them together is just a beautiful thing. You know, to be surrounded by people who inspire you, that's a huge motivating factor for me as a creative.
For sure.
Mesh it up. That's not a phrase.
Oh, I love it.
I just dropped it.
Mesh it up. See, and that's the musician in you coming out. I love that. I love that.
Oh,
no,
man.
I agree 100%. And I love Mesh. I'm very grateful for Mesh and just the mission behind Mesh. And, you know, that's why we had you here today. We wanted people to like hear your story and just be motivated, and we wanted people to know that you're not the only one. I'm almost certain, and you guys can like drop a comment below and let us know.
Let us know.
Like, I'm almost certain that there are several people that feel the same way and have two different talents or aren't sure, but based on your conversation, I'm hoping that we were able to, you know, touch someone and motivate them and to say, keep going, don't stop.
Yeah,
you know?
Don't give up on it. You know, I think a lot of people, you try things out. You try things out and see what you love. Sometimes you love like multiple things. In my case, it's video music. And it's tough to let go of either. but there is a way to make those two work and to succeed in both areas. So.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. What's next? Okay, really quick before we leave, how can we find you? We want to make sure that, people can, stay connected and follow your journey. I think it's an amazing journey. I can't wait to see like all the other great things that you
Thank you so much. You can meet me on Instagram. It's at J-Kraken. If you just look at J-Kraken, honestly, you'll find me on YouTube, SoundCloud, Twitter, all the social medias, essentially.
Yes, all the platforms.
We out here.
We outside. Well, thank you so much. And thank you guys for tuning in. If you have a creative or if you are a creative and you're interested in sharing your story, please go on meshclctv.com, submit your story. We want to hear from you, so you can sit right here. Welcome to Mesh.
Mesh Talk is created and produced by The Mesh Collective.